What's up, Detroit? This is 3 Detroit Sports Talk, the only show with all of your favorite Detroit sports, news, and action. I am Tommy Riles, as always, joined with Brendan Riley and Cody Hudson. Guys, how we doing today?
Pretty good.
Doing good.
All right, for today's show, we're going to be talking about our struggling Detroit Tigers. Let's be honest, we all pretty much gave them the division in spring training. Yeah, not so much so far. Team's really been struggling out of the gate. The back end of our bullpen is just pathetic right now, and our $1 million men are just not living up to their contracts right now. We'll get to that a little bit later. What do you guys think about the team?
Well, the big thing we're trying to focus on here right now is it panic time, correct? I don't think it is, but you got some problems going on. It's very, very weak batting in the end of the lineup, and like you mentioned, some struggling in your higher paid guys. You look at Cabrera batting .263 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, when's he ever been there in his career?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is about this, I'm hearing a lot of people talking about like how the team is not hitting, and the team is not basically just not hitting. And I'm looking at some of their box scores. A lot of their games, they're losing like 5-4 and 6-2. But we're only scoring 2 runs, but hitting like 15 times. I mean, that cannot work in this league. We're hitting the ball okay. It's just the fact we're not hitting when we need to hit the ball. So I mean, I do like what Leland did in the past couple weeks. He's put Dirks up at the number 2 spot. Dirks has been lighting it up this year so far. I mean, he's been a very pleasant surprise. On the other hand, we got to figure something out with Bosch. I mean, Bosch was one of those guys who we were basically penciling in to be someone who carried us into the postseason and maybe even beyond that to the World Series because of the fact he missed so much time last year. He comes back and he's struggling.
Speaking of Dirks, he actually leads the team right now with a .340 batting average. Only through 17 games. That's 56 at bats. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I think we can all agree pretty much that the best player on this team so far this year has definitely been Austin Jackson. I mean, he has been an amazing surprise since. I mean, we knew what he did the first year, but we also know what he did last year when he struggled with the under 300 batting average and so many strikeouts. That swing that he created in the offseason, when he
a whole new stance that he has.
It saved him this season because, I mean, the dude is just on fire right now. I mean, he's been our most productive guy pretty much the entire season. Cody, what do you have to say about the team?
Well, like Brennan said, he touched on it a little bit. I don't think it's time to actually worry yet. I mean, it's still early. We started off decent, like our first, 10, 15 games. But then, since then, we've just fell completely off track, and it's tough for me. I mean, I don't think it's time to worry yet, though. I think they'll be all right. They just have to they got to get their stuff together. Leland's been doing some stuff with the team recently, and I mean, batting wise, we really got to start batting better. Our pitching isn't helping us a whole. I mean, they're helping us, but not a whole lot. Well, our bullpen anyway. So I mean,
well. Let me put it to you guys this way: last season, at this time, we were about the same, flirting with 500. The Indians were right ahead of us. The Chi Sox were right behind us. There was a spurt, I think it was in either late May or early June, where we kind of started to pull away, and then we let them back into it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I want to see that again. I don't think it's time to start panicking at all yet, because I know what this team can do, and you know what this team is capable of. And honestly, do we really think Cleveland's going to stay there that long? I mean, we don't want to rely on Cleveland falling apart again, but I have a feeling eventually the Tigers, they're going to start hitting as the weather warms up a little bit. And, I mean, this team's not a team who's supposed to be losing 7 of their 8 games to Seattle, or however it is, 5 of 6. No. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, Seattle's one of the worst baseball teams in history, pretty much, the past 2 seasons.
I personally don't have too much concern with this team making the playoffs. It's more so once you get there. You can't have this. Here, I'm going to go through a couple players for you real quick. Alex Avila, 250. Don Kelly, 250. Delman Young, 226. Brendan Bosch, 213.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely...
Well, and you can even look further. Ryan Rayburn, 130. And Santiago, 159. All of these players have played at least 20 games.
I want to stop you right there. You just mentioned basically, I don't know, I picture him as the devil of this team. Ryan Rayburn. How in the world is this guy an everyday player on a World Series competitive team? I mean, this is ridiculous. This dude cannot hit anything right now, but yet somehow he is still on this team. I mean, we got rid of one cancer in Brandon Inge, and now it's time. I think we start looking at Rayburn because I mean, I'm tired of keeping these guys around because they're good guys. Good guys don't win championships. Good guys are nice outside the community, and they can be as nice as they can be in the clubhouse, but they're not going to win championships. I'm fine if you want to keep Rayburn in and basically have him come off the bench occasionally, like we do with Kelly. But Kelly's proven that he's a way better hitter than Rayburn. He's proven that he's a way better fielder than Rayburn. So what else do we have to see to have Rayburn not be an everyday starter?
Well, and I think what people are hoping for with Rayburn, he's always been a strong second half performer. But you don't force a strong second half performer to be strong right now. It's not working. He's batting 130 through 25 games.
And
sit the guy. And you know what? If he performs in the end of the season, great. But you don't play him now if he's not performing now.
I could see that if we were talking like Miguel Cabrera or Prince Fielder hitting like 280 or like I'd go even as low as 250, and then all of a sudden they're going to come around and hit like 400 in the end of the season. That's different. But when you're talking about Ryan Rayburn, I mean, this guy does not have the skills, basically, to stick around a ball club for the entire first half just because you're banking on the fact that possibly he might have a good second season. Because it's not even for sure, or second half of the season, it's not even for sure that he will have us a good second half of the season. I mean, just because it's happened 2 years in a row doesn't mean it's legit going to happen every single season for his career.
You never know, though. I mean,
right.
Anybody could have a good second half of the season, though. I mean, anybody could have a terrible first half of the season, but then come right back and have the greatest second half of the season that they've ever had before. I mean, it's not halfway through the season, but look at Pujols.
Yeah, well,
he was playing terrible the first.
I still wouldn't look at that too much. He made a change from the NL to the AL. That does seem to affect batters. It hasn't affected Prince Fielder.
Yeah,
Prince Fielder has looked very good.
You don't see what Prince Fielder's doing a lot, though. I mean, Prince Fielder has come over, and he's basically... I mean, he's not putting up the numbers like home runs that you would like to see, but everybody's complaining about that. I don't mind. If the dude's going to hit 309 with 15 RBIs... I'm cool with that. I mean, he came out. We got him basically to produce runs. He's producing runs. And me and Brendan were talking about it a couple weeks ago. His batting average after Cabrera gets a hit is ridiculous. It was at like 700 3 weeks into the season. I mean, that's just insane.
I don't know where it's at right now, but I want to compare Prince Fielder real quick. You mentioned Austin Jackson being one of the most solid players. Their stats right now are very similar. It's actually kind of crazy. Austin Jackson has 113 at-bats. Prince Fielder has 110. Austin Jackson has 20 runs. Fielder has 18. Austin Jackson's much faster. You'd expect his numbers to be higher than Fielder's there. Much more higher. You got 36 hits out of Jackson, 34 out of Fielder. The doubles, the extra base hits, you can't really compare those very well. But you're looking at 4 home runs for Jackson, 5 for Fielder, 12 RBIs for Jackson, 15 for Fielder. Those are your two solid players right now. Those are the two you can count on. And right now, it's looking like you can count on Dirks as well.
The best part of that Jackson stat that you just said is he has 12 RBIs. The leadoff spot is one of the hardest positions to get RBIs in the game. And especially on this team when your bottom three, let's put our bottom three in consideration right here. Your bottom three is usually Rayburn, Peralta, and probably Avila most of the time. All three of those guys are hitting under 300. All three of those guys have less than 20 hits. I mean, that's basically saying every time one of those guys are in scoring position, Jackson's most likely going to drive them in.
Well, you want to talk about under 300. We only got four guys batting 300, and that's not even, I mean, Gerald Laird's one of them with only 11 starts. Only 3 starters batting 300. And the stat that I was mentioning earlier, we have 6 players who are virtually everyday players batting below 250. And we have 4 everyday players who are batting below 200. You can't do that. Not this late into the season.
Well, Peralta, where would you like to see him? I would like to see Peralta 290, 295 with, as long as he's got about 10, 15 home runs. If he's hitting 295, I'm happy with that.
I don't have an extreme problem with where he is right now, which is at 260. I'd like to see him push 280. If he can get to 280, I'm satisfied with it.
Alex Avila, where do you guys want him?
270, 280 as well.
Yeah, right now he's...
Right, yeah.
The main thing why I'm not so mad at Avila right now, you guys have to look at it like he's been clutch all season. When we've needed him, he's come through with the hit. I mean, I've been to a lot of games this year already, and most of the games that I go to, if there's like 2 outs in a late inning situation and there's a guy on first, Avila's driven the guy over to third probably about 80% of the time. I mean, he's just been clutch. I'll take that out of him as long as he's going to keep his average around 260, 270. Delman Young with the whole, I mean, he was stinging the ball pretty good before he had the whole New York incident with where he got suspended for the 7 days. I'm really hoping that we can get him back into it. I don't think his head's in the game right now.
That one's going to hurt you. The loss of him, not playing at his best is a big.
Because before he left, wasn't he hitting around like 260?
He was like he was in the range 260, 280 going up and down. I think he's probably one of the most undervalued players on the Tigers because you don't see. I mean, you look at the Cabrera and the fielder to get you the RBIs. But what do you do once those guys are on? Usually you're relying on Delman Young, Alex Avila. Those are probably your 2 guys. And Delman Young hasn't been doing it right now. But he's shown that he can be the guy to bring them in. And throughout the course of a game, that can be another 2-3 runs that you can get out of him.
See, my most undervalued player on this team so far, let me know what you guys think. But I think the most undervalued guy has got to be Don Kelly. I mean, the dude is not getting... I mean, he plays occasionally. He's only been in 18 games. I know he's only got 250 average, but his defense is really good, and he can play anywhere, honestly. We have a hole at second base, right? Don Kelly's proven that he can play second base. I'm guessing he can probably play second base better than Rayburn. I would say for a week, just for a week, sit Rayburn down, put Kelly in there. If you want, you can throw Santiago in there for a game. But put Kelly in there for a week and just see what happens. Because I'm guessing that he's probably not going to be as low as Rayburn.
I would agree with you that Kelly's undervalued by the organization, or at least it appears he is. But I think the fans are starting to see something in him. The big thing I've noticed with this guy is he's getting the hits when you need them.
Yep.
I've never felt confident with Don Kelly coming up with the 9th inning, but this year I have.
Yeah. But, I feel like there's a lot more that we could be using Don Kelly for, and I feel like he's getting shafted a lot with Cabby being at third base now, because I mean you knew that Cabby was going to be pretty much the everyday third baseman, which we're going to touch on that in a couple minutes too. But I feel like Kelly he deserves a spot on this team. Not every day. I'm not going to go as far or that far, but I mean when you've got Rayburn who showed up in 25 games. You've got Santiago, who showed up in more games than him. Danny Worth slowly coming up in games with him. I mean, if we can
Danny Worth's been looking pretty good, too.
If we can get Danny Worth to hit better, well, obviously it's not too hard to hit better than Rayburn, but as long as you can get Danny Worth to be a productive 8 hitter.
You start getting to that 250, 260 mark, you can live with that at your 8th, 9th batter.
Right, because I mean, if we can get Danny Worth into scoring position, and then you have Austin Jackson coming in after him, that's a pretty solid 9-1 combination with that speed.
See, and I've been complaining about the 250 batters, but here's my problem with 250 batters. We got 250 batters from 6 and below. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
You can have a 250 batter. You can maybe even have 2 250 batters, but you can't have 4
or
5.
You have to look at it like this. You've got Brennan Bosch. He wasn't our 6 and under hitter at first. He was a 2 hitter, and right now his batting average is, where was it, 213. I mean, that was your 2 hitter going into the season, all the way up until maybe about a week ago.
And to be honest, I've always been a little worried about Bosch. Yep. He's got the power, but he's never been that consistent player.
Yeah.
I think we need to take a little bit of a look at pitching as well. Derek Below, what a beast.
Dwayne
Below, my bad. I don't know why I call him Derek Below, but hey, look at this. 14 innings pitched.
Yeah.
He's 2 wins, no runs given up, only 8 hits. He's got 1 walk. So he's got 8 hits and a walk in 14 innings pitched with no runs.
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking before the show, a couple of the innings that he's come in, I mean, they've brought him into basically horrible situations. I mean, a couple nights ago, I was watching, they were playing Seattle, and they brought Below in, and this was actually the game they lost on the walk-off. I think it was a guy on third with nobody out or 1 out. Below struck out the first guy, and the next guy comes up, and they pop fly to the center field. He's out. Rayburn couldn't throw him out at home, so it was actually pop fly to right field. But, I mean, Below has been solid. Let's go to the back end of the bullpen, though. I mean, what's going on here? Last year, there's a stat. They've been throwing it around for weeks on FSD in some of the games. This team was like 72-0 or something after leading after 7 innings last year.
7 innings last year.
This year, we are 3-6. Going into a couple nights ago game with Seattle, we were 3-6. That is horrible. I mean, you're talking about a team who went undefeated last year. You're not going to get that every year, obviously, but...
Here's some of the problems you got. You got the obvious one in Valverde this season. 13 innings pitched, 15 hits, 8 runs. I mean, you can't be giving up 8 runs in 13 innings as a closer with an ERA of 5.2.
Well, all I know is when you see Valverde coming out to the mound, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like going to Cedar Point and riding thrill coasters every single time I watch a Tigers game, and I feel like every single time he comes into the ball game now, it's a roller coaster ride. Because you have no idea what's going on.
I'm one who defends Valverde in that case because you know what? Since he's been here, he's been, even if you include this year in his statistics, he's been very solid. I mean, he hasn't been bad. He's struggling right now, but I expect him to pick that up. What you're looking at right now is he's got 11 balls and 15 hits, 26 batters on base, and 13 and 2 innings, 13 and 2/3 innings.
It's not so much like don't get me wrong, I love Papa Grande when he's on, but I mean, and I still love Papa Grande. I feel like he's still one of the best closers in baseball. The only thing I have wrong with him this year, every single time he comes into the game, there's always at least 2 guys on base. Every time he's leaving the game, you always have that. Your heartbeat's racing because you don't know if they're actually going to get that hit, and you can't have that in a closer. You have to have a guy who comes in, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. If they get a hit, that's fine, but you know the next guy's going to come up and either ground out or strike 3, you're out again. I mean, you always have to have a shutdown closer if you want to be a winning team.
One suggestion I've heard about Valverde, and I haven't paid too much attention to it, but I kind of see it myself, is he was throwing a split-fingered fastball last year, which was really, really keeping hitters down because that's the kind of pitch that even when you make contact, it's hard to do much with. If that pitch is thrown right, it's going to be a ground ball every time. And then he's gone away from that this year. I haven't personally seen it.
Well, he did in the last game against Seattle. I was watching because he was actually every single time he put the ball in his glove, he had the split finger motion, or not motion, but the holding position of the split finger. I think he's actually still pitching it quite a bit. The problem is this year he's not getting the movement that he wants on it, so it's just coming off basically looking like a 92-mile-per-hour 2-seam fastball, and in the MLB that's pretty much like batting practice.
That's exactly a split finger is going to do one or two things. It's either going to be a great pitch that's if you put that pitch where you want it, it does what you want. That's a ground ball out. There's nothing else you're going to get out of it. But if you don't get the action, it's a batting practice pitch.
Yep. All right, let's move over to the starters now. I'll tell you what, guys. Normally, if you're going to talk about most impressive player on this team when you come to starting pitchers, who do we usually say?
Obviously, Verlander.
I'm not so much on that right now. I mean, obviously Verlander's having a great season. Don't get me wrong; he's still the best pitcher in baseball in my eyes. How about Drew Smyly? The dude's like, what is he, 20, 21 or something like that? This is his stats right now. He's 1-0 because he has no run support.
But he's got 6 starts.
Yes, 6 starts. He is 1-0 with a 1.59 ERA. He's got 6 starts, 27 hits in 6 games. So what is that? That's about 4 hits a game, maybe 4.5 hits a game.
That's through.
He's 22 innings. By the way.
Right, and that's through 34 innings. So basically, that's just showing Leland's giving Smyly the Porcello treatment, which I'll get to that in a second because I was very upset with Leland a couple days ago. And through these 6 starts, he's got 10 bases on balls with 34 strikeouts. So I mean, I think we've got a gold mine right here with him. And with hitters in scoring position, he's got a 1.09 ERA.
I think he's great right now. You're going to have to wait and see because young pitchers do this a lot. I mean, I got a guy by the name of Galarraga in mind. He came up his first year, absolute stud. He was, I mean, I couldn't give you his stats off the top of my head, but he was very good.
Yeah, I remember actually a game that I was watching a couple years ago when Galarraga was making his first couple starts. and Rod Allen was making fun of his shoes. That's our announcer, because he had some like Reebok shoes or something, which Justin Verlander wears Reeboks too, so I'm not slamming Reebok at all. But Rod Allen looks at Galarraga's shoes and he goes, "Oh, that boy's going to need a shoe contract pretty soon," and he knows the one's coming because that's how good of a season he was having. Because they were thinking he was going to be the next star.
He was Drew Smyly for his first season. And
exactly.
Another name. This guy wasn't a long-term guy. And, you know, he did turn out, but he's struggling right now. Jair Jurgens. I don't know if you guys remember him. Comes up his first start. I believe it was 7 innings of no-hit baseball.
Yep.
It's really common in baseball. You see guys come up. People don't know what they throw, when they like to throw it. He definitely looks like he has potential. I think you're going to, at the very least, you're going to have a solid showing from him until the All-Star break. But come playoff time, I mean, this guy's not going to be the answer.
Well, let's go through here now. I mean, I'm going to go through the ERAs. Tell me if you like or dislike. You got Doug Fisher. Obviously, it's only been 1.5 starts, pretty much. 0.0 ERA. I think he can honestly maintain that.
I don't know about 0.0.
Not 0.0, but, I mean, the dude, he can keep it with Verlander.
And that is 10 innings pitched. It's not like he hasn't thrown, I mean, that's not high
He's
numbers.
basically got Belo numbers.
Right, he's got Belo numbers.
Exactly. Drew Smyly, 1.59. Are you happy with
absolutely
it?
great right now.
Okay. Justin Verlander, 2.63.
Can't ask for anything more than
That's good.
All right. With Verlander, I'm a little bit on the edge because I feel like Verlander's kind of getting hurt with the fact that he's not getting a lot of the calls that he was last year. I mean, I feel like Verlander has earned that reputation basically to where he should get the benefit of the doubt sometimes. And I mean, I was in the Seattle series. I hate to keep bringing that up because it was such a bad series. But Verlander was getting screwed on a lot of his pitches that night. I mean, there were some that were literally, they showed it on the Fox tracks like they always do. There was one pitch that was right down the middle, no question about it, and they called it a ball. And, I mean, I feel like it might be a little bit of the umpiring with Verlander for right now, but I'll let that go.
I mean, I expect to see Verlander's ERA probably stay around this area, a little bit lower for the remainder of the season. You're probably looking at 2.4 maybe.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a little. I feel like it's a little high right now with it being.
But when you're talking about an ERA being high with 2.63,
no,
you know you've got a great pitcher.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, Rick Porcello, 4.91.
He hasn't shown me much lately, to be honest. But I expect it to turn around. He's shown. He had a couple good starts to start the season.
Well, he had
his last start wasn't bad at all.
He had 2 great starts to start the season. He had 2 horrible starts in the middle part, and then his last start, I think he went like 6 innings of 2-hit or 3-hit baseball with 1 run scored on him, and I mean that definitely helped.
I think what you got in Porcello, personally, I think you got a third starter who's a little weak to a fourth starter who's going to be fine. Yeah. He's not going to be your star, but you know what? What is he? He's our third starter, he's technically 3, 4. You know,
he's our fourth starter.
With what Scherzer's done, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But Porcello, he's doing what he needs to do.
Yeah.
I think he could probably drop the ERA.
Yeah.
About where's he at right
now? You could drop it another 1.5.
Yeah, he could definitely bring it down.
It'd be nice if you could at least drop that to a high 3, low 4.
Yeah, I think he could probably drop down to like a 3.5.
Yeah, I love it.
I think he's good enough to drop it down.
If he could drop to 3.5, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. You brought him up though, Scherzer. I hate to say it, guys, but I think it's time to start thinking somewhere else besides Scherzer. I mean, when he's on, he is a great pitcher, but the problem is, in the past couple of years, he has not been on very much. And I mean, when he is on, he's a great pitcher, but it seems like he only turns it on for a couple weeks in the season. I mean, last year it just so happened that the couple weeks that he turned it on were right at the end of the season, going into the postseason. But I mean, this year,
I'm going to be honest. I don't know what you can get for Scherzer. Maybe if he heats up, maybe you can get something out of him. Because when he's on, he can be one of the best pitchers in the league. He really can.
Yep. Well, he was our 2 starter up until we got Fister.
Obviously, right now you're not going to get anything. But you know, if he gets hot, you might be able to move him. If not, you might need to look at bringing in another guy. Again, regular season you can live with him as your 3rd starter. Come postseason, he's kind of scary. I mean, you want at least 3 solid starters, and maybe you can live with Porcello as your 3rd starter, but Scherzer is scary.
Yep.
I think Porcello could pass as a 3rd starter. I mean, depending on how the rest of his season goes.
Well,
you never know what you're going to get out of any pitcher in the playoffs.
Let's see how Smyly ends up going, because if Smyly can keep this up, I think we found our 3rd starter. And I mean, I'll be comfortable putting because Porcello's a solid 4 starter, and if you can have Smyly be I don't even want him to be what he is right now. If you can make him even go up a couple in the ERA and even give up a couple home runs and stuff, if you can get him to be a third starter, I think you're ecstatic because everybody thought that. Let's put it this way: everybody thought that Andrew Oliver and Jacob Turner were our next two great pitchers. Those two just have not panned out. I mean, we thought
it's too early on Turner. How old is Turner?
We thought Jacob Turner was going to be the fifth starter going into this season. Jacob Turner ended up he's not even in consideration right now for the fifth starter position. Plus, and going into the season, he wasn't really into the consideration because he got rocked in spring training. And last year in AAA, when we sent him back down, he didn't even really do much. I mean, it's too early to tell on Jacob Turner, but it's also not. We need to do something with Andy Oliver and Jacob Turner. We need to decide if we're going to keep them around for long term or if we want to deal them while they still have the potential to be something.
See, I think you can consider saying Oliver, isn't going to work out, but Jacob Turner's too young.
He's got a couple years.
He's 20 years old. In baseball, it's not that common to be a everyday pitcher, or not everyday pitcher, but be a guy in the rotation at 20 years old. About Drew Smyly, though, if he can stay where he is, or like you said, even if he's not, even if that ERA moves up to 3, yeah, you got a great guy there, and you can live with him as your third pitcher in the playoffs. I guess I'm just not counting on him to do that.
All right, we've talked about hitting, we've talked about pitching. Let's move to everybody's concern in the offseason. Let's go to fielding. The only reason why everybody was putting this team down is because we weren't going to field the ball, and the main reason why is because we were losing a lot of defense with Miguel Cabrera moving to third base. I don't know about you guys. I'm ecstatic with how Cabrera's been playing at third base. I mean, I'll put it this way. If it's affecting his hitting at all, then maybe I'm not as ecstatic, but fielding-wise, I'm impressed. I mean, the dude came over and he showed in the offseason he worked his butt off, and he's really slimmed down. I mean, he was fat a couple of years ago. I mean, he's looking like an average-sized guy now, and, I mean, he's really producing at third base right now.
Yeah, he's been doing his job at third base.
I mean, he's got 3 errors, but 3 errors in 260 innings with your first year back at third base. I'll take that in a heartbeat.
I mean, I don't honestly think there's too much to look at on the fielding. The fielding's been what fielding is. It's been solid.
Yeah.
It's been nothing special. I mean, they haven't been the best fielding team in the world, but it hasn't hurt them. I don't have too much to say about fielding other than that, to be honest.
The only fielding position that I feel we could do something else in would be Rayburn. I mean, I hate to keep picking on the guy, but I mean, you only can look at the stats. I mean, Rayburn is not. There's been a lot of balls hit to Rayburn where they've been very, very generous because it was at Comerica Park and the hometown scorekeeper basically just gave him no air. But I've seen probably about 3 or 4 balls that popped up on him, and normal second basemen who are going to be an everyday second baseman have made the play where Rayburn has not.
I know I'm moving back to pitching, but I'd like to throw out a stat for you. Well, a couple stats for you real quick. Okay, Detroit's 5-5 over its last 10 games. Starters are 4-1 with a 2.35 ERA.
Oh, no, altogether our...
Not only that, ready? Over the year, average length of start, 6 2/3 inning, solid. Batting average, a 213 against by the starters. The starters has been phenomenal. If they keep this up, all you need is some runs. You get them some runs.
Look at this. You've played 30 games now. Going in, or while we're doing the show, we've played 30 games. We're 15-15. Out of all of the starters, we have a combined 8 wins. For the first 2 weeks of the season, Belo was leading our team in wins with 2. I mean, the highest right now is Verlander and Porcello with 3. And then you've got Pfister with 0, Smyly with 1, Scherzer with 1. So you've got 8 wins from your starting rotation, who has technically been solid. The only person who has not been solid has been Scherzer. And I find it weird that Porcello does have 3 wins because we were just talking about him having the least, or like the second, or he was the second worst pitcher on this team so far this year. But the difference is Porcello's getting run support when he plays. I mean, so Porcello's getting usually about 6 runs a game from the guys. Verlander, Pfister, Smyly, all of those guys are getting like a run to 2 runs every game. You can't expect these guys to go out basically and no-hit every big league team.
Well, Porcello, coincidentally, has 6 starts. And personally, out of those 6 starts, I'd have to say he has 3 very good starts.
Yeah.
He has 3 wins. 2 very bad starts. He has 2 losses. And another start where he was all right. Didn't get the decision. To me, that says something. He hasn't been consistent, but in his good games, he's been fine.
Yep. I mean, we've got Verlander with one complete game, which that's going to change. The main thing that we've got to basically focus on right here for Porcello in my eyes, if you look at it, he's got 2 grounded into double plays so far. I'm not too impressed with that. I mean, Porcello's main thing when he came into the big leagues was he was a ground ball pitcher. You cannot be a successful pitcher if you're a ground out pitcher if you're only getting 2 double plays through 7 starts or whatever.
You need more than that.
And you've also got 50 ground outs in how many innings has he pitched now, did we say?
30. I'm sorry, just give me a quick second. 36.2.
So 36.2, 50 ground outs. That's not even really.
I mean, he's given up 40 hits. 40 hits as well. It's a lot. That's.
Exactly. So, let's start wrapping it up here. Altogether, I'm not ready to panic on these guys. I know the pitching's going to come around. I feel the back end of the bullpen. I feel like Valverde and Benoit are starting. I mean, Benoit has been picking it up in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I feel like he's starting to come back around. And Valverde, I feel like it's all just in his head right now. I mean, he's just really. Obviously, he's a psychopath.
He'll get out of it.
But hitting, obviously, I feel like they're going to warm up in the day. How do you guys think?
I'm not ready to panic simply because I don't see this team not making the playoffs. It's going to be tough. I mean, their competition, you're going to be fighting for a playoff spot at 500 in this division.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, even though they're not playing right now, they're at 500.
Well, last year we were fighting with Cleveland. I don't know if you guys remember the game, but we were playing Cleveland for first place in the division. I think it was in late July, I believe it was. And Cleveland had the chance. They had the guy on third at Comerica with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. Or no, I'm sorry, with 1 out in the bottom of the ninth. And if Cleveland won, they took a game lead on us. If we won, we took a game lead on them. So they hit the ball. Jackson caught it and threw him out at home. And that basically rocketed us and killed Cleveland's season. So I feel like the same thing is going to happen this year.
Right,
Because we haven't played anybody.
I'm not concerned for the right now for making the playoffs. The way the team's playing, they're not going to win a series in the playoffs, but there's so much time. Things are going to change between now and then. I mean, for all we know, we could have
You're still on
another
our website, right? Their division record right now can't be horrible. Because, I mean, we've played KC twice now. I think we beat them in both series. We took 2 out of 3, I think, in both series. So that's 4-2. And then we lost a series to Chicago in 3 games, which is 1-2. So we're probably about 10-5 or 10-6 in the division right now. And that's without playing Cleveland. I feel like we're going to sweep Cleveland the first time we play them. Because Cleveland is not good.
I can get you the division record after Cody gives.
Yeah, I don't think it's time to worry at all. Well, I'm with you guys. For number one, being it's still pretty early on in the season. Number 2, our bats are going to warm up, and our pitching is going to get better. I mean, we haven't had the best outings by Porcello yet. I mean, we've had a couple good outings by him, but he hasn't played at his full potential completely this season yet. And also, our hitters, we're not hitting, Miguel Cabrera, he's only hitting a 2.63. And once he warms up and all of our other batters warm up, I feel like we're going to be fine. It just we got to score the runs, and our pitchers, they're letting in on average, I'd say 5 runs a game, 4 runs a game.
I don't even know if we have enough 5.
Yeah, it's
2, 3, 4. Honestly.
Yeah, well, add the bullpen.
Still, you're not going to.
You don't think it's
4 runs?
I think it's right around 4. Maybe
I'm not
a
sure,
little bit
but I'd
less.
say you're probably around 4.
But
Here, this I actually find really interesting. Tigers' current division record is 7-4.
Yep.
And if you look at Cleveland Indians at 8-7, Chicago White Sox 8-7, I think 7-4 is better. 1 less win, 3 less
Cleveland
losses.
also has not played us yet.
You're at 4-9 with Kansas City, and I'm a little bit confused by this one, to be honest. Minnesota 1-1. They've played 2 Central Division games.
We have not played Minnesota yet, and we have not played Cleveland. And Minnesota's 1 game got rained out against Chicago. So I don't know. I feel like once we start playing Cleveland and once we start playing Minnesota, I feel like we're going to start running away with it.
The number 1 record in the Central in the last 10 games is 6-4.
Yep. The division has not been good this year. I think we can all agree with that. No. But that's pretty much going to wrap up our show, everybody. Again, thank you for listening. We are going to let you guys know we are actually combining with another group. It's called the Farm Club. It's a group of writers around the Detroit area. that we've actually got a message from, and they want to start soliciting our show just like we're going to solicit theirs. So just you'll find them on our Facebook page. Guys, if you're listening, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. And as always, we thank you for listening to 3 Detroit Sports Talk. For Cody Hudson and Brendan Riley, I'm Tom Riles. You guys have a great day.